So let's just talk about useContext hook in React. So the useContext hook is basically allows us to pass data through the component tree, and here we don't have to manually pass props at each level. So suppose we have a root app component, and under that we have the child component A, child component B, and the component C. So these are the direct child of the app component. So if we wanted to pass a piece of data, then we can directly pass them as a prop, but in a case where the component tree is deeply nested, means the component B also has a nested component D, and also the component C also has a nested child component. So this way, if we have multiple child component nested, in that case, suppose we wanted to send the same data, so we cannot directly send that. First of all, the data has to send from app to the B component, and the component B has to pass it as a prop to the child component. And similarly, the component C also has to pass, and the component E also have to pass in order for the data to reach from the root to the deeply nested child component, even though these components do not need the data. So to solve the problem, we can use the context hook. So the context hook allows components to directly access the data without prop drilling. So let's just see how we can send the data from the root component to the child component using the create context. So first of all, we have to create the context, and we're gonna call the create context, which will create the context. Now suppose we wanted to send the username, which is Sam. So to send this data, first of all, we have to wrap the child component under the user context provider. So user context dot provider. So we have to wrap the child component under this user context provider. So here we can send any value. So let's now pass the username. So here we can pass the username. Now in the child component, to access the username, first of all, so here we have to export that. So export user context, and then we have to import that user context from the app component. Now here we have to use the useContext hook. So useContext, and inside there we have to pass the user context. So this will return the username. So we can store that in a variable username. So the username will hold the data that we have passed using the provider. Now here we can directly print username. So here you can see we have the username Sam, and also we can send multiple values using one object. So suppose we have the email of the user. Now also we can send the mail. So here we have to pass one object, and also we can send the mail. And then here in the component B, this will be one object. So the user will be one object. So we can use user.name to access the name, and also we can access the email. So we have to write user.email. So you can see here username is not showing, and that is because here it has to be user.username. So now you can see the username and the email is successfully showing. So this is the way we can pass data from a root component to a child component using the useContext hook, and this will allow us to directly pass the data without having to use the prop drilling. So that's it for the video. See you in the next one. Take care.